So I can't believe we're doing this for the 8th time. So welcome again to the 8th annual IndieWeb Summit. How awesome is that? We are blessed with what we might call embarrassment of riches. There's so many things that amazing people, the community, you all have built and shipped and shared in the last year. I'm only going to scratch the surface on a few of these things. So just keep that in mind. There's a lot more that you're going to hear from the coming keynotes, and especially from each other, which I want to just emphasize is sort of like, in my opinion, the most exciting part is just to see what are people doing with their own personal sites, what have they got working, whether it's like they just set up a domain name or they just set up Indie Author, whatever they just got working. It's amazing, it's impressive. It's always a step forward towards taking control and owning what they have. And that's kind of the theme we had last year was own your content, own your identity, own everything. And this is our homepage, and that's really what we emphasize. This year, I'd really like to take that a step further. Like once you've taken control of what you own and you're in control of it rather than the silos, the social media networks, like all these sites that pop up and go down at the whim of VCs that fund them and then sell them, express yourself. So this is something that's from the early web that when we all had our own small static websites, we used to all express ourselves in all kinds of creative ways. Well, great, you've owned your content, you've exported everything from Facebook because you don't want them to be selling it to the highest bidder to manipulate elections or such, and you're wanting to express yourself instead. So there's kind of 3 key areas there that to keep in mind. One is your homepage. You're going to see lots of examples, and there's lots more linked to from the wiki. Design your homepage however you like. You want to stream? Great. Put in a stream of updates like most people have. You don't want to stream? You want to make it a portfolio style? Great, do that. There's no wrong way to do it. That's the beauty of it because it's your homepage, and as part of this diverse community, we all support each other in expressing exactly how we want to express ourselves. If you are putting posts on there, which I think is a very common pattern, makes sense. People are so used to it from social media. It's a nice, friendly way to put things up there. Make sure that each of your posts has its own permalink. But how you design the look of those permalinks is completely up to you. And one thing we've seen in the past year, a lot more of, is a diversity of how these permalinks are shown up because of all the different post types that people are presenting. We've seen all kinds of different post types taking off in the last year, from reading posts, and there's a whole new website, IndieWeb Book Club, I think it's called. You might even get to see it, Indie Book Club. Okay, even shorter, even better. And there's all these different post types that people are posting. Every year we're seeing more new post types get proposed and taken off within small communities. Different people advocating different post types, that's okay. Just by sharing, coordinating, we're making it so they can all interoperate. And beyond expressing yourself, the other thing that a lot of us want to do is we want to be heard, right? And I really want to take the step this year of saying, okay, we have been doing this technique called posse for a long time, saying, great, one way to become independent is to own your stuff, put it on your own website, but then still syndicate it elsewhere to all the different social media silos where all your friends are still interacting with them, right? Great, well, we figured that out, we know how it works. In some cases, we found that it's not as effective anymore because of what? Because of algorithmic feeds. You might be posting to social media silos and none of your friends might be seeing your posts. In other cases, they're downright shutting down APIs. And so we are needing to go beyond posse. And at this point, I would say the next place to really be heard is make sure that your feed, wherever you're hosting it, your streams, is actually properly marked up with the most modern feed standards. HFeed in this case, if you're just using your HTML, there's others for updating your Atom, or if you're exporting a JSON feed, great, do that as well. However many feeds you want to put out there, it's up to you, right? Like your site, your work, your expression. And this is all really important this year because the big thing that's happening this year is IndieWeb Readers. And I'm just going to show you this wiki page because I'm not going to steal the thunder of the amazing demos of the folks that are going to demo the actual readers working. There's amazing things going on there. I can't wait to see how they show them off. So be heard, express yourself, be heard. And if I could say, last year we talked about empowerment. This year I want to really say, with each one of these steps, make a better future. Like every single day, make it better tomorrow for yourself. and for others as well. See if you can share the work that you come up with, inspire people that they can actually do a better job with their own sites than what any social media silo can do. So a few community updates. We had a whole bunch of Homebrew Website Club cities come online, and in particular this past year, we have a lot of meetings coming up. But I want to call out Austin, thanks to Manton over here, who started it up. Homebrew Website Club meetups there. Virtual Homebrew Website Club EU has been going on like semi-regularly quite well, thanks to one of our folks that's online on video here, Martin. And the other one that started up is Frederick, Maryland. So we have a lot of regular cities and we have a lot of pop-ups. If you're in a city that doesn't have a Homebrew Website Club, great, find a friend. Check out the wiki page, Homebrew Website Club. It's got instructions for how to start one up, what the minimum tasks are, how to announce it, all that. Like all this stuff has been figured out by those that have started them before you. It's really easy to start one up in your own city. The next thing I want to point out is IndieWebCamps. Great, we've done a bunch this year. We're at IndieWeb Summit now. The next IndieWeb camps coming up are IndieWeb Camp Nuremberg, which is in October, and IndieWeb Camp Berlin, which we are just announcing today, is officially confirmed November 3rd and 4th in Berlin. So if you're wanting to visit Berlin or you know friends in Berlin, encourage them to check out the wiki page. You can find all these. Here, I'll just even do a little live type of URL and load it. Nice to have a fast network. It's all online. There's a registration link already there. You can add yourself to the guest book, just like any other IndieWeb camp. All right, next up. And if you're not in one of those cities, in particular, if you're in, I want to say, Austin, Brighton, Cambridge, London, Los Angeles, or San Francisco, talk to one of us organizers because there are, hello, there are folks working on it. And New York, did I mention New York City? New York City as well. Okay, left that one off. But we are working on trying to make those happen. So if you're in one of those cities or want to travel to one of those cities, let us know. Awesome. And lastly, as Aaron referred to, the principles really define what it means to be part of this community in the IndieWeb and how it's distinct from a lot of other communities working on different things. And that's a good thing. And what we've done is we've been iterating these key principles to really reach out beyond just, say, coders to generations of folks that are journalists and writers and just anyone that wants to own their own identity and data. We want these principles to reach out to them as well. We know we've got some work to do here to keep doing that, but we've taken a good cut at this, and we've got 11 principles. Like any good set, it goes to 11. So check those out. Technologies. We did a great job last year with standardizing a bunch of IndieWeb technologies like Microsub, like WebMention into W3C recommendations. This year, we've got a few more. So Websub, W3C recommendation. Congratulations to everyone that worked on it. This was a lot of hard work, especially Aaron. This is how you do real-time updates on the web, period. Like this works. There's Websub hubs out there. There's open source software you can run yourself. There's software that consumes it. It's a part of the fabric of the web for doing real-time updates now. And it's actually pretty easy to set up on your site, whether you use a WordPress plugin or you use a few web API calls. It's not one of those things that you can easily set up like tomorrow if that's a thing you want to do. In addition to the Websub recommendation, we had several W3C notes published. IndieAuth was published as a W3C note, the JF2 post-serialization format as well, and post-type discovery. So those are all on W3C's site. That all got finished because the Social Web Working Group wrapped up and finished its work at the beginning of this year. So we're all done with the Social Web Working Group. There's a Social Web Community Group that's iterating a little bit on these and other specifications. But for maintenance, because we want to keep all these specs alive and updated with errata, we're now doing that in the IndieWeb domains ourselves. For example, IndieAuth. The latest version of IndieAuth is at indieauth.spec.indieweb.org. Okay, and that's where you can get the live, fully up-to-date spec. Similarly, JF2 is up there. The Micropub is on its own URL as well. And post-type discovery is up there, as well as WebMention. And so these are live specs that are based on W3C standards that are being updated with implementer and community feedback. But new for this year, Microsub is now a spec. What is Microsub? Well, that would take me a lot more time than I have here to go over. But suffice to say, this is the layers of standards for servers and clients to read the real-time IndieWeb. And that is kind of an amazing step forward. Microsub has been developed in the last year. There's going to be more talk about that as part of the readers that have been done. Let's see, what's next? Vouch. Goodness sakes, it seems like every year the problems of harassment and moderation and blocking and all that become more and more important to the web, to the social web, to all this media that we're producing. So this is an aspect that we need to keep iterating on, keep implementing, and making sure that the problems of like fighting harassment, all that works best on the IndieWeb as best as we can make it work. Right? I think we can do a so much better job than any centralized solution using our own websites, using a diversity of different approaches. And this is one of the specs that's going to help us do it. More in community announcements and services. Bridgey, which has been long serving this community and doing a great job, thanks to Ryan and other folks who have worked on it. I just want to give, I think Ryan's here. So there he is. Give him a round of applause, you guys. This is a service and open source software that my website and plenty of other websites depend on. The wonderful thing I want to give you up to date is that this year, Bridgey added GitHub support, which is freaking awesome. I'm so excited about this. And in fact, this was one of the most prescient moves I've seen on the web because he added it months before the acquisition. The timing was amazing, and a bunch of us have been trying it out and doing and basically owning all our GitHub issues and responses and comments. If you want to see how to quickly set that up, I would highly recommend checking out Chris Aldrich's post, Enabling Two-Way Communications with WordPress and GitHub. It talks about how you can update the various plugins that the IndieWeb community has developed, and basically authenticate with Bridgey on GitHub. And it just works. He's done this amazing work here. It is literally the simplest, fastest way to get it up and running because we have all these standards to interoperate. One set of people, built a service, another built a plugin, another built the instructions for how you do it and deploy it within what? A couple of minutes, hours at most?
Oh, no, that was almost instantaneous. The second I heard him say he did it, it was done. It took longer to write that post than it did to implement it.
There you go, right? And that's kind of the power of this community, right? You don't have to do all the work yourself. Ship an awesome service, ship a plugin that uses a service, write amazing documentation about how to make it work. Each one of those individuals did those differently, asynchronously, and now we have something that people can set up and run trivially. So that's kind of amazing. But it's not all good news. Unfortunately, Facebook has iterated their API once again and is leaving us, as we say, the rest of the open web behind. So Bridgey is dropping Facebook support, and maybe that's okay. Backfeed is already dropped, and publishing support is being dropped by the end of July, I believe. August.
Sorry, August 1st, so yes.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, and maybe I've noticed myself that the posts that I've posted to Facebook just don't get that much uptake anyway. I'm guessing algorithmic feeds are to blame. Not even showing my posts. So what's the point of posseing if people don't see your posse copies, right? Why go to the extra effort? So just as a heads up, maybe that's something to talk about in the coming days. All right, the other two big updates I wanted to point out is getting started with WordPress has gotten a lot of great updates and more updates coming soon. If you have friends that use WordPress, point them here. If you have friends that are experts at WordPress and are just send me the plugins to add. The WordPress plugins page has had a major update, nice summary of which plugins to install, what does it do for you, where can you install it from, either the WordPress formal repository, or if they want to hit the bleeding edge with the GitHub repo, they can do that as well. Who are the people that developed it? So names and faces to go with the projects. And this is one of the best things I think about this community is that we're really good about making that human connection. We don't just have these blank home pages that are super corporate slick with a nice video. We've got actual real human beings behind every single effort. And that I think is not to be underestimated. All right, this is a big announcement for this year. One guy showed up from Drupal and built this amazing IndieWeb plugin that added support for all these different specs, and there's already sites using them as well. So in the category of one person can make a difference, I think this definitely by Swentel, I forget his actual name. Anyone? What's that? Christoph. Okay. Yeah, I have a really hard time associating what alias means, what name, except I know GWG is David here in the front and center. We should all know that. All right, I talked a little bit about readers. There's more on the readers page there. And just to point out, Together was an idea that was essentially conceived last year at this summit and is live now as a web-based IndieWeb reader. It's amazing, and the people that worked on it are amazing. They're here. I hope they give a demo of their work. There's just been an amazing, just folks coming together, getting stuff working at, using it themselves day to day, every day, depending on it. And so that's an exciting innovation to check out, web-based IndieWeb reader. Built on the Microsub efforts as well, separating the client and server needs. Aperture is a Microsub server that Aaron has developed, and I think it's been in limited beta or private beta for a while, but I think we might see some announcements about that soon. And then mobile readers. This is perhaps one of the biggest challenges of anything web today, is make your stuff work on mobile, because that's where most people are spending most of their time. And the breakthroughs that have been coming through with indigenous, just making readers that look absolutely beautiful, simple UIs, right? Nice chronological timeline. Who knew that that would actually become a feature that you had to ask for? Clean and simple presentation, no ads, right? Because if you run the software yourself, there's no reason for you to put ads in it. Great stuff. And this is on iOS and I believe Android as well. So again, I'm just going to show you this couple of screenshots, and that's about it. And this lets me close my talk with what I think this year is going to be all about, which is the year of the IndieWeb Reader. Ever since we lost Google Reader, and we've had many other small efforts at kind of recreating old RSS reader UIs, but not really getting it in terms of the modern social web, in terms of what people expect. They expect a mobile client. They expect a client that they can interact with, that they can quickly favorite or like or retweet post or retweet, whatever you want to call it, retoot. We got some Mastodon fans out there.
That's called Boost.
Boost? Okay, thank you.
Well, if you scroll, you'll see.
We got some interaction. Or yes, whatever you want to do with your read, you expect to be able to do it on mobile, be able to reply right there in your reader, write a comment, and the IndieWeb aspect of it is all those interactions, instead of going to a social media silo, get sent from the reader to your own website. So when you're done reading, you've got a whole record of the things that you've replied to, liked, or whatever on your own website. And I think that integration is really going to inspire people to switch to using readers that are in these walled gardens, to using IndieWeb readers, which are a huge generational leap from the RSS readers of yesteryear, where the interactions don't just get saved in your silo, right? Like Google Reader had favorites, but where did the favorites go? Nowhere. They stayed in Google Reader. With the modern IndieWeb readers, all your interactions go to your own website. So again, one more thing you own, one more thing you control, and you get to decide how you want to present those, if at all, on your website. So, and with that, I'd like to introduce our next set of keynote speakers. Here from micro.blog is Jane and Manton.